Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nonprofit Nuggets with Jennifer Yarbrough. I am your nonprofit expert with over 35 years of experience helping nonprofit leaders start, grow, and scale their nonprofit businesses. Listen, in this time of midst of COVID, right? I hear a lot of organizations say to me, Jen, I don't have money. Jen, because of COVID, we don't have money. Because of COVID, we don't have the means to operate. And the truth is this: before there was a COVID, can we be honest? You didn't have a fundraising strategy. Before there was a COVID, can we be honest? You didn't have a fundraising plan. Before a COVID, you didn't have a donor file. You didn't have a donor system. So it's not because of COVID that many organizations are struggling financially. I always say that money is a fruit, not a root, not a root. All right. COVID is a fruit, not the root, not the root. Okay. So what's at the root of organizations struggling with getting the resources, getting the money, getting the donors, getting the attention that they need? Number one, they didn't have a plan. Can we just let that sink in for a moment? Can I just really tell the truth? You didn't have a plan. You didn't have a plan on where to get money. You didn't have a plan on how to raise the money. You didn't have a plan on how to market your program. And that leads us to number two, not being able to articulate income, right? COVID did not start that. COVID is not going to end that, right? So 98% of your donors give because of impact. 98% of your donors give because of impact. So in this time of COVID, you should be and could be articulating your impact as never before, because your organizations, in fact, are more needed now than ever. All right, so let's regroup. Let's go over this again. Why do nonprofit organizations not have any money? Number one, you do not have a strategic plan. Number two, you're not articulating impact, right? If 98% of your donors give because of impact, then the way to get donors' attention, the way to get them to be investors and to partner is to be able to connect with them via impact, right? The number three reason that nonprofit organizations struggle with money is the leader that is not sure, the leader that is not clear, the leader is not focused, the leader is not able, right? Not that you couldn't be able, but just don't currently have the capacity to do what many of you have never done before. I give the example of, I've been on a lot of planes. I've traveled for years throughout my career. I know what the jetway is. I know how to find the gate. I know how to get to my seat. I know how to put on the belt. I know how to use the emergency door. I know where the pilot sits. I know about what time, I can feel when the plane is going down. I know that I've got to lift my tray when that little ding, ding, ding goes on in the cabin, right? But I've never flown the plane. Many of you have been around nonprofits. Many of you have volunteered for nonprofits. Many of you may have even been on the board of a nonprofit. But flying the nonprofit is a totally different kind of beast, right? So many of us don't know what we don't know. And now that you are the pilot, you, the leader, have got to be able to put together that strategic plan. You've got to be able to help vocalize, provide the information for providing the impact story and the impact message, right? So not knowing how to do that is the problem, not COVID. The problem is you didn't have a plan, all right? So today we're going to talk about a fundraising plan, a fundraising strategy, and actually making it, okay? You've got to make it. You cannot say, I need a strategy, but I don't know how to make it, right? I need a plan, but I don't know how to make it. So that's what we're going to talk about today, all right? We're going to talk about today a fundraising plan and strategy, okay? So I want you to grab your pens, grab your paper, and let's go through this, all right? Let's do this in a way that is going to get you some clarity, some direction, and some focus, all right? So let's define first, what is a strategy? A strategy is a long-term plan of action designed to achieve a particular goal, All right, let me say that again. Defining a strategy. The definition of a strategy is a long-term plan of action designed to achieve a particular goal. Many of you started your nonprofit organizations because of passion, but that passion didn't come with a long-term plan, a plan of who should be on my board, a plan of what that board member is going to do, a plan on how we're going to fund our program month after month, long-term, right? So we've got to start with the strategy. We've got to start with that plan, and that's what we're going to cover today, all right? Now, what is a fundraising strategy? What is a fundraising strategy? A fundraising strategy is a long-term plan of action designed to achieve a particular fundraising goal. A fundraising strategy is a long-term plan of action designed to achieve a particular fundraising goal, okay? So if you don't have a goal, if you don't know how to put that plan into place, then we're going to have a problem. All right. So these are the steps in a fundraising strategy. Okay. I hope you have your pens. I hope you have your paper. These are the steps in a fundraising strategy. The number one thing is you got to know what your fundraising goal is, right? You've got to know how much does it cost to run your program? How much does it cost to run your organization, right? That's how you figure out your goal. Your fundraising goal should be that which covers your expenses, okay? That's how you balance a budget. Your budget says, these are my expenses, and so my fundraising goal is to cover those expenses, okay? Now, that's number one. Number two is, who is going to give? Who's going to give? Now, I know a lot of us focus a lot on grants, right? Grants are great, grants are great, grants are great. But grants are not the only ways by which you generate revenue. Revenue for your nonprofit organization can come from any up to 7 or 8, 9 different ways, right? So who's going to give? You have individuals, you have donors, you've got sponsors, you've got businesses, you've got grants, all kinds of ways to connect with the who all will give. So that's the number 2 step of your fundraising strategy, is knowing who all can give. Number 3 is broadly knowing how to reach those people, right? Number 4 is who's going to do the fundraising, who's going to do the asking. And then number 5 is, what are the timelines? By when does this money need to be raised? Okay, so let's go over that again. The steps to your fundraising strategy. Number 1, knowing the fundraising goal. Number 2, who all can give. Number 3, knowing how you're going to reach those individuals that can give. Number 4, who's going to do that work. And then number 5, what are the timelines? Okay. Now, when you are evaluating your fundraising plan, you are really wanting to look at who on your team has the greatest ability to speak confidently about your organization. All right. That's one of your strengths. Your strength is your organization is achieving great things. You've got a history, or you've got a plan. You've got partners and collaborators. Now you want to use that strength of who's the best person on your team that can convey that impact message. All right. One of the things that you want to look at also is where have you in the past raise the most money, right? If it's been through events, if it's been through products, if you sold caps and hats or whatever you've done, or if you're saying, Jen, I'm just starting out and we haven't done any fundraising, right? We have these little things on Facebook where we put up a fundraising ask and they give to that. But then we've got to take it beyond that, okay? Because that is a part of the plan, but that's not the long-term plan. The long-term plan is not using Facebook for your fundraising, right? So now you've got to look at the opportunities that you have. You've got the opportunity of, you've got a whole social media presence. Are you using it? Are you using it consistently? Are you using it to convey your impact message? Okay. So when you're looking at your plan, you're looking at your strengths, you're looking at your opportunities, you're looking at where are we doing things, but we're not doing them consistently, right? That all has to be evaluated in your plan. Okay. Let's look at who all can give. Who can give to your organization? You've got government. You've got your state, you've got your local, you've got federal government, you've got your institutions, you've got agencies, you've got partnerships with other nonprofits, you've got clubs, you've got corporations, you've got networks that could give, you've got foundations that could give, you've got funding agencies that can give, right? So these are the ways of looking at who can give to this organization. In relations to individuals, you've got major donors, you've got groups of individuals, you've got small groups of individuals. You've got monthly donors, right? So there are lots of ways to determine the list and create who could give. Now let's talk about how you're going to reach them. Okay, how are you going to reach them? When it comes to grants, right? How are you going to reach them? You're going to reach them through proposals. You're going to reach them by applying for the grants. You're going to reach them through presentations or inviting them to come for a visit. You're going to reach them by letters of inquiry, right? You're going to reach them through reporting and through implementation of the program, and then inviting them to see what that looks like. All right, that's how you can reach these individuals, particularly now where foundations don't, or many of them don't allow you to just apply without first having an invitation. So how do you reach them to let them know what you're doing? These are ways that you can do that. Okay, when it comes to corporations and businesses, how do you reach them? You reach them by knowing what their market and who their market is, and making the connection of how your nonprofit reaches their audience, right? How by being a partner with your organization, you have the opportunity to bring them more customers. Okay, so communicating that as a benefit to the businesses and the corporations by being in front of new or potentially new customers is a great way to gain their interest, right? How do you get in front of now individuals, major donors, regular donors? You do this by mail, right? By telephone, by face-to-face ask, by your social media, by your emails, right? So these are the ways by which you create that plan to get in front of those individuals, okay? So now you know who they are, and then these are the ways to get in front of them, all right? Then you're going to figure out who's going to do the ask, who's the best person for the ask. Now I know that many of you all put people on your board, and the expectation is that the board will do that work, that that's their job. Now, it is a part of their responsibility to make sure that the organization has the resources that it needs to deliver the mission. However, you are the executive director, the top fundraiser, right? You have the program. Your board members are not in the program day to day. They do not see the audiences that you are serving every day. So they cannot be your top fundraisers. However, they should be equipped with the resources, with the knowledge, with the information, with the story, so that they can work with you to help raise the money. All right. So who will do the fundraising? Yes, it should be the board. Yes, it should be you as a part of, as the leader of the organization. It could also be your program staff, those people who are working in the program. It could be your volunteers. It could be your consultants that help you do that work. It could be the people that help you fundraise. Everybody. Bottom line, the answer is this: everyone has a role and an opportunity to help your organization generate the revenue by their relationships, by their interest in your organization achieving its mission. All right. So it's not one person's job, it's everyone's role. And within the strategic plan, you can lay out exactly what those roles are and by when it should be done, which brings us to the timeline, right? So you've got an annual budget. Your budget is 12 months. That means that you then have a plan and a strategy that you're going to be able to evaluate and assess at least every quarter, right? So when we're looking at fundraising strategies and plans and looking at timelines, if you've got a 3-year plan or 5-year plan or even a 2-year plan, how about we just start out really simply a 1-year plan? Okay. What are we going to raise this next year? Before we start adding on these other years, let's just really face, how are we going to raise money the next year, right? We're about to go into 2021, and COVID ain't going anywhere tomorrow. So that means that we still have to do the work of the plan, right? So you could be looking at your plan and you could say, you know what, we're going to focus on the first 2 months of the year, focusing on fundraising to our core group, the people who always support, the people who come to our events, the people who volunteer, the people who know the most about us. That's what we're going to focus the first 2 years. All right. The first 2 months. The first 2 months, we're going to focus on this group. We're going to articulate impact. We're going to share testimonials. We're going to give them information about what we were able to do year to date up to this point, or even what we plan to do throughout the year. We're really going to cultivate them. We're going to engage them. We're going to hear from them, and we're going to give them the call to action. All right. So then we're going to go into now months 3, 4, and 5. Let's look then at corporations and businesses. Okay. Who do we know? Who do we know that knows someone that we could know in the business world? And who is the best person to make that introduction? Really focusing on that group. Okay. Then let's talk about fundraising in terms of events, right? There may be a time where you have an event and you have relationships that you are building, partnerships that you are growing in to help you make that event successful. And let's talk about events. Events are not parties that are thrown for people that you know. Events are opportunities for people who do not know anything about your program to come to this event, be a part of the celebration, give information about what you do to them, and then follow up, right? So you should and could raise more money after the event than the actual event itself, all right? So now we focused on the first quarter with individuals who are your core group. Then we went to businesses and sponsors, and now we're hopefully raising awareness so that those businesses could be sponsors for your event, right? Partners in your event. You're also now looking at agencies and grants, looking at where and how can we or should we be applying and positioning ourselves to get grant dollars. Now, how do you get grant dollars? You've got to have a budget and you got to have a plan, which is what we're talking about today, right? So you've got to have a budget. What's a budget, Jen? A budget is a list of expenses, right? Clear list of expenses. These are my expenses for a program. These are my expenses for the organization. And this is my plan on how we're going to generate revenue. Right? So what are the many streams of income? We've been talking about that. You've got businesses, you've got individuals, you've got foundations and agencies, you've got events, okay? You might have a product and a service. That's 5. So you now are able to say to the funder that your funds that you're giving to our organization is not the only thing that we're relying on to deliver our program. That's why many of you now are resting on the laurels of COVID. You're saying because of COVID, we don't have any money. No, that is not true. Okay, that is not true. So you want to be able to share and say to your funders, that we've got a plan and a strategy on how to generate the revenue. Right now, more than ever, your program is needed. Right now, more than ever, your program is essential. Right now, more than ever, there are 1,000 people who are praying for a solution to their problems, and you are that solution, all right? But if you don't have a plan and a strategy to raise the money, that is why there is no money. And I'm really trying to speak as directly as I can, that's a part of my charm, right? To just really help you lay out this blueprint. All right. You've got to have a blueprint that you can follow and that will monitor your success, that will define roles, that will involve the key stakeholders, and that you can revisit to make adjustments whenever needed, right? Because of COVID, this should be a time where you are able to make a readjustment. This should be a time of readjustment. And for those of you who have not started your plan, this is absolutely the time to start your plan, right? Because when we're going into 2021, you've got to be able to very clearly say, who are the people that I could easily reach? And what am I going to say to them, right? And then what is my call to action to them? And then how am I going to communicate with them so that they then are inspired, motivated, engaged, and encouraged to continue to give to the organization long term. I want you guys to understand long term, all right? Long term. Many of you are operating day to day, week to week. You're not thinking, you're not strategizing, you're not planning for long term. You're saying, I have an expense today. I need the money today. And so you're paying for it out of your pocket today, but then you're not thinking about, what expense am I going to need next week? What expense am I going to need next month? Because that's your plan. When you are going to a funder, when you're going to say, I want you to think about partnering with our organization, investing in our organization, they are looking for those organizations that have a plan to succeed. Okay. I know that many of us started with passion. Can we add a plan with that passion, please? Can we please add a plan with that passion? Because your investors have a choice, and you definitely want them to choose you, and you are worthy of that choice. However, you've got to show them that you are a good investment. All right. We already know that your program is important. We already know that your mission matters. We already know that you're going to make a difference. But when it comes to explaining how you're going to fund this, how you're going to keep it going, that's going to help determine who is going to trust you with their resources. I want you to think about this. Okay. If it comes down to an organization that has a financial plan, a strategic fundraising plan, they can say, these are our donors, these are the people that we're going to go to, these are the asks that we're going to make, that they can go to your website, they can go to your social media page, they can see a presence of consistency, they can see conversations and testimonials and photos and videos of the work that you're doing and how your work is impacting the community. Or they go to a page where there is nothing, or that there is sporadic, or every now and then there's something that's thrown up, but there's no consistency. There's no explanation or demonstration of impact or change that your organization has made. Which one do you think that they're going to choose? They're going to choose the one that is showing and sharing that the organization is impactful, that the organization is involved in the community, and that they're making a difference. And I know that you are. You just need, as a leader, to get together with a plan. You have to have a plan, all right? You have to have a plan. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You cannot strategically raise money without a strategic plan. If it were true, then your hope so and your winging it would be enough. If it were true that all you needed to do was start your organization with passion, all you needed to do was to turn to Google and YouTube University, and you sit there for days, weeks, and months strategizing and scrolling to find an answer, if that were enough, you would have figured it out by now. Come on. Many of you all have been doing this now for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4. You have to have a strategic plan, all right? And so these are the steps of that plan. I'm going to go over them again, all right? The steps in the strategic fundraising plan is knowing your fundraising goal, all right? I want you to just pause and I want you to write down, what is your goal? What is your goal? And what is a SMART goal, right? Let's talk about SMART goals. A goal is something that you can achieve, first of all, okay? So a SMART goal is specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's timely, all right? So we're talking about a year, or we're talking about 2 years or 3 years, depending on what your strategic plan is. But you're able to say, this is specifically what we're going to do, all right? This is specifically what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to measure our success. And this is the ways that we're going to achieve it. And these are the timeline, or this is reality of who's going to be responsible, right? Who's responsible for it. And how are we going to be able to measure that, right? And then the T is the timely. By when will it be done? Okay. You guys know that I am a professional fundraiser, and raising money is what I do, right? Writing grants and raising money is what I do. Helping organizations make sure that they have the revenue, that they have the right strategy, and that they have the right systems to manage that strategy, right? Does it take a lot of work? It doesn't take any more work than winging it. It doesn't take any more work than winging it. In fact, it's a lot more efficient. And it proves the return on the investment by being able to achieve your goals. All right. So that for people who say, Jen, I don't have time, I'm thinking you do have time. You're spending time right now not raising money and trying to figure out how you're going to pay for everything out of your pocket, when that is not how the nonprofit is set up. It is not set up that way. Okay. So you've got all of these ways in by which to generate revenue, right? What are the ways, Jen? You've got government, you've got state, you've got local government, you've got multilateral agencies, you've got funding agencies, you've got foundations, you've got networks, you've got clubs, you've got corporations, you've got major donors, you've got regular donors, you've got small donors, you've got monthly donors. All of these are ways, or the people within these categories, groups within these categories that will help you generate revenue. Okay, so it's not just from one source. When we're talking about corporations is a whole nother. In kind is a whole nother. Listen, don't get me talking about products and services and then events. There are multiple ways that your organization can and should generate revenue. If you are not raising money, it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with, I do not have a strategic plan. Period. That's it. There is no there is no maybe, there is no Jen, there's another. No, it's because you don't have a plan. And in that plan, it says who are the people that are going to work the plan. If it's not you, then who, right? If it's not you, then who? There has to be somebody who will do the work, or someone that understands the work and can help guide someone else in how to do it, right? The plan does not happen by itself. Just like social media doesn't post for itself. You got to put something on social media for it to appear there, right? So you can have social media, but if you're not using it, if you are not putting things on it to be seen, then it doesn't work by itself, okay? Your organization, fundraising does not work by itself. Throwing up a post every quarter or every couple of months, or touching your donors once a year, or with a newsletter without making it a call to action, that is why you don't have money. I know. Hearing it like that can be a little jarring. I accept that. But listen, I gotta be that splash of cold water. I gotta be that voice that says, wake up. You right now are stuck and stagnant because you are not doing what you could be doing in the steps of a fundraising strategy to raise money. Okay? The nonprofit realm is the third largest employer behind retail and technology is the nonprofit. Why? Because we do the work that government cannot do. We do the work that businesses cannot do. We do the work that is necessary and essential to our communities. Your mission matters, and you're not begging for funding. You are giving reason and justification and impact. Your organization is valuable, all right? You are providing a service that is meeting a need and filling a gap. You have to, as the leader and the founder, make a decision. Do I continue to fund this thing by myself without a plan? And winging it is not a plan. That's not a plan. Sitting up all night on Google is not a plan. You've got to have the plan. What is the plan, Jen? Knowing your goal. Who are you going to ask to give? All of those communities that I mentioned previously. How are you going to reach them? Is it going to be through face-to-face? Is it going to be through letter or email? Listen, the how-to, right? And who's going to do it? Who's going to do the fundraising? Who's going to make the ask? If it's not you, then it has to be someone. And then by when does this need to happen? It needs to happen every single day. It needs to happen every single month. It needs to happen every single day, every single month. Why? Because you've got an annual budget. You've got to be able to pay for your program, for your services, for your people, for your staff, for your materials, and for your supplies. So the work that you do in the area of fundraising is an everyday activity. All right? Because if you're not raising money on a regular basis, that means you're not taking care of the bills. You're not taking care of the responsibilities. You're not delivering what is needed for the program on a regular basis. Listen, you're not expected to run this nonprofit for free. If that were true, you wouldn't need the paperwork. If you were a volunteer organization and you were here to give everything away, you didn't need to start a nonprofit for that. Okay? A fundraising strategy is necessary. If you are a person that says, Jen, I'm overworked, I don't understand, I'm afraid, I've never done this before, I've tried and I need some direction, then I'm here to help you. All right. Because listen, no one can build a house by themselves. No, the pilot can't even fly that plane by himself. Okay. There has to be other people. You have to have a team. And in your fundraising strategy, you got to know who is going to do the work. If it's not you, then my team and I can help you with that. All right. We can help you. We can help show you how to do it. We can work with you. There's all kind of ways that we can do this. But the goal what we have to resolve is, one, do you want a plan? Or two, do you want to be stuck not having a plan and then not raising money? Because raising money is not the problem. Not having the plan on how to do it is the problem. Okay. So not having a plan, not knowing how to articulate impact, and you as the leader saying, Jen, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm stuck. And if I'm stuck, I don't know how to move the organization forward. If I'm stuck, the whole organization is stuck. If I don't know, then no one in the organization knows. And adding people to your board does not change that, right? Changing your board does not change that. Why? Because you are the leader. You are the one that is the visionary. You are the one that has to make it plain. And you are the ones that have to work with them on setting that fundraising goal. You know the month to month. You know the expenses, okay? You are the executive director. You are the leader, all right? And you are the lid. If you are a 6, your organization is a 5. If you are a 4, your organization is a 3. The only way to raise the lid on your nonprofit organization is you as the leader raising your lid. All right. Raise your lid. Think about, where do I need to raise my lid as it relates to fundraising? Where do you need to raise the lid as it relates to understanding how to generate revenue from your community, from online, from businesses, from grants, from the other opportunities of fundraising? If you're not raising the lid, then your organization is stuck. Okay. Your organization is in jeopardy. And that has nothing to do with money. Money is a fruit, not a root. What's at the root? What's at the root is there is no strategic plan, there is no ability to articulate impact, and the leader who does not know what to do in a plan or a strategy. And because of that, the fruit of no money shows up. We're seeing this right now in the area of COVID. COVID is not the root. At the root is, I did not do the work to identify who could build relationships with who could support our organization before today, right? Up until this point, I don't have a list gen. I haven't been cultivating my list gen. I don't have businesses that I know. There's no one in my community that has supported us. We don't have, consistent presence on social media. And that's showing now because of COVID, but that's not COVID's fault, right? So now you have an opportunity to figure out, to prioritize, to make a decision. It's just a plan. That's it. Can you imagine that if you put together a plan, how all of your problems could be resolved? Can you imagine that if you put together a fundraising plan and you know what your fundraising goals are, you know who could give, you know broadly how to reach them, you know who would do the fundraising and what they would say and how they would say it, and you can be clear about your timelines of how often could I conceivably generate revenue. If you just put together the plan, that would take care of your fundraising needs. I know that sounds too simple, but it's true. Can you imagine just doing the plan and it being successful, and then you being able to generate the revenue to pay the budget, your budget for salaries, your budget for materials and supplies, your budget for equipment, your budget for property, whatever it is as an expense? Your fundraising goal is to cover that expense. And then identifying who are the people or where would those resources come from? And how do I reach them? What do I say? How do I articulate impact to those individuals or to those companies or to those agencies? And who's going to do it? Listen, you need help. That's what we're here for. All right. So listen, I want you guys to take a look at your notes, and I want you all to really assess for yourself where you are as an organization and where you hope to be in this next coming year. If you'd like to reach out to me, again, you can reach me through my website, www.jdayarborough.com, jdyarborough.com, or jump on my calendar and let's talk about it. Jump on my calendar, let's talk about it. My calendar is timewithjen.com, 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 timewithjen to get on my calendar, and let's talk about it. My team and I are here to help you put together your strategic plan and to help you get all the money, the resources, and the connections that you need so that your organization is able to have the resources to start, to grow, to scale, and even to, to take your organization to the next level. Now is the time to put that plan in place and then begin to execute it as quickly as possible. The longer you delay, the longer the money is going to stay away. Money is not the root. Money is the fruit. And your strategic plan is a big part of why you don't have resources for your nonprofit. All right. I hope that this was helpful, and I am here for you guys. Thank you all for listening. And I will be back in touch in the next podcast, Nonprofit Nuggets with Jen. I hope that this was helpful, guys. Thanks for listening. Take care.